What happened in that hotel conference room in Phoenix, Arizona on March 15, 1997, was supposed to be my death. My husband David had planned it meticulously. He had been planning it for months, maybe years. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it all began, because you need to understand how a woman with a college degree and a promising career ended up married to a man who would try to murder her and make it look like suicide. I met David Crawford in the fall of 1990 at a friend's barbecue in Scottsdale. I was 29 years old, working as a marketing coordinator for a regional restaurant chain, and I had just bought my first condo. I was proud of myself. I was independent. I was happy. And I definitely wasn't looking for a relationship. But then David walked into that backyard, and I'll be honest, he took my breath away. He was 34, tall and athletic with sandy blonde hair and these piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through you. He was wearing expensive, casual clothes, the kind that look effortless but probably cost more than my monthly car payment. He worked in commercial real estate development, and from the way our mutual friends talked about him, he was very successful. When he approached me and struck up a conversation, I felt my heart race in a way it hadn't in years. He asked about my work, seemed genuinely interested in my opinions, and by the end of the evening, he had asked for my number. Our first date was at an upscale Italian restaurant in downtown Phoenix. David was charming, attentive, and funny. He told me about his work developing shopping centers and office complexes throughout Arizona. He talked about his dreams of expanding into California and Nevada. He asked thoughtful questions about my career goals and listened intently to my answers. When he walked me to my car that night, he didn't try to kiss me. He just smiled and said, "I had a wonderful time tonight, Linda. I'd really like to see you again." I drove home feeling like I was floating. Over the next 6 months, David swept me off my feet. He sent flowers to my office. He took me to the best restaurants. He surprised me with weekend trips to San Diego and Sedona. He met my parents and charmed them completely. My father, a retired electrician who was usually skeptical of anyone I dated, actually pulled me aside one evening and said, "This one's a keeper, sweetheart. Don't let him get away." My mother adored him. My friends were jealous. Everyone said I had hit the jackpot. David proposed on Valentine's Day 1991 at sunset at the top of Camelback Mountain. He had arranged for a photographer to be hidden nearby, capturing the moment when I said yes through tears of joy. The ring was beautiful, a 2-carat diamond that caught the fading light and sparkled like fire. I thought I was the luckiest woman in the world. We got married that June in a beautiful ceremony at the Phoenician Resort. It was a perfect day. I was so happy I felt like my heart might burst. We moved into David's house in Paradise Valley after the honeymoon. It was a stunning home, modern and spacious, with a pool and a view of the mountains. David said he wanted me to make it our home, to decorate it however I liked. I was so excited. For the first few months, everything seemed perfect, better than perfect. The first crack in the facade appeared about 4 months after our wedding. I had stayed late at work to finish a project presentation. I was the marketing coordinator, and this was an important pitch for a new restaurant concept. When I got home around 8 p.m., David was sitting in the dark living room. I flipped on the light and saw his face. It was a look I had never seen before. Cold, hard, angry. "Where were you?" he asked. His voice was flat, controlled. "At work?" I said, confused. "I told you this morning I had to stay late for the presentation. Remember? You told me you'd be home by 6. "No," I said I'd be late. "The presentation is tomorrow morning, and I needed to finish the materials." David stood up slowly. "Don't contradict me, Linda. You said 6 o'clock. I specifically remember." I laughed nervously, still not understanding what was happening. "David, I think you misunderstood. I definitely said I'd be late." He walked toward me, and something in his eyes made my stomach tighten. "Are you calling me a liar?" "What?" "No, of course not. I just think there was a miscommunication." "There was no miscommunication. You said 6. You're 3 hours late. And you didn't call." I had called. I had left a message on his office voicemail around 5:30. But when I tried to explain this, David cut me off. "I don't want to hear your excuses. I waited for you. I had dinner plans. You embarrassed me." I apologized, even though I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. I apologized because the look in his eyes frightened me. I apologized because I wanted the tension to go away. I apologized because I didn't know what else to do. After that night, things slowly began to change. David started questioning my schedule more frequently. He wanted to know exactly where I was going and when I'd be back. He began calling my office multiple times a day to check in. At first, I thought it was sweet, that he was just being attentive, but it didn't feel sweet. It felt suffocating. I got pregnant in early 1992. I was thrilled, but also nervous about how David would react to the disruption a baby would bring. To my relief, he seemed genuinely happy. He was attentive during my pregnancy, came to doctor's appointments, helped me set up the nursery. I thought maybe the baby would bring us closer together. I thought maybe that strange incident about my work schedule had been an isolated thing. I was wrong. Our daughter Sophia was born in October 1992, weighing 6 pounds 12 ounces, with a head full of dark hair. She was perfect. When I held her for the first time, I felt a love so overwhelming it terrified me. I knew in that moment I would do anything to protect her. But David saw Sophia differently. He saw her as competition for my attention. He resented the sleepless nights, the crying, the fact that I couldn't focus solely on him anymore. He started working longer hours, coming home later and later. When he was home, he was critical. The house wasn't clean enough. Dinner wasn't ready on time. Why was the baby crying so much? What was I doing wrong? His sister Amanda started coming around more often. Amanda was a corporate lawyer, 3 years younger than David, and she made it very clear from the beginning that she thought I wasn't good enough for her brother. She was single, focused on her career, and seemed to view my choice to stay home with Sophia as a personal failing. David had encouraged me to take an extended maternity leave, saying we could afford for me to stay home with the baby. I had agreed, thinking it would be best for Sophia. But Amanda acted like I was some kind of freeloader. "Must be nice not having to work," she would say, looking around my house with disdain. "David works so hard to provide for you. The least you could do is keep the house clean." When I tried to explain to David how Amanda's comments made me feel, he looked at me like I was being ridiculous. "Amanda's just being honest," he said. "She's successful because she doesn't make excuses. Maybe you should listen to her advice instead of being so sensitive." My father had a heart attack in March of 1993. He survived, but it was serious. He needed bypass surgery and months of recovery. My mother was overwhelmed, and I wanted to be there to help. I asked David if I could take Sophia and stay with my parents for a few weeks to help during my father's recovery. "Absolutely not," David said. "Your place is here. Your father has your mother to take care of him. I need you here." "But David, he almost died. My mother can't handle this alone." "Then hire a nurse. We can afford it. It's not about the money. They need family." David's face hardened. "I am your family now. Or have you forgotten that? Marriage means putting your husband first." I ended up going anyway, taking Sophia and staying with my parents for 2 weeks. I felt guilty the entire time, but I knew my mother needed me. David called every day, his voice cold and clipped, asking when I was coming home. When I finally returned, he wouldn't speak to me for 3 days. He slept in the guest room. He acted like I didn't exist. The silent treatment was worse than the arguments. When he finally did speak to me, he said, "If you ever abandon me like that again, there will be consequences." I should have left then. But where would I go? Back to my parents, who were dealing with their own crisis. I had quit my job to stay home with Sophia. I had no income of my own. David controlled all the finances. I didn't even have my own credit card anymore. He had convinced me to add my name to his accounts and then systematically limited my access to our money. In 1994, I got pregnant again. David seemed pleased initially. He said he wanted a son. Tyler was born in July, a healthy 8-pound baby boy with his father's blonde hair and blue eyes. David doted on him in a way he never had with Sophia. But his treatment of me grew worse. He started documenting everything I did. If I spent money on groceries, he wanted receipts. If I talked to a neighbor, he wanted to know exactly what was said. He installed security cameras around the house, saying it was for safety, but I felt watched constantly. He monitored my phone calls. He checked the mileage on my car. He questioned every aspect of my day. Amanda's visits became more frequent, and she acted like a spy reporting back to David. She would stop by unannounced, inspect my housekeeping, comment on my parenting, and then I'd hear them talking in hushed voices about me. Once, I overheard Amanda say, "I don't know what you ever saw in her, David. She's let herself go. She's a mess." I was exhausted. I had a newborn and a toddler. I was getting maybe 4 hours of sleep a night. I was trying to keep a perfect house for a husband who noticed every speck of dust. But to them, I was just lazy. I was just making excuses. The first time David hit me was when Tyler was 6 months old. I had forgotten to pick up his dry cleaning. I had meant to do it, but Tyler had been fussy all day with an ear infection, and Sophia had a meltdown at the pediatrician's office, and by the time I got home, I just forgot. David came home that evening, went to the closet for a specific suit he needed for a meeting the next day, and realized it wasn't there. "Where's my navy suit?" he called from the bedroom. My stomach dropped. The dry cleaning. I had forgotten. "I'm sorry," I said, rushing into the bedroom. Tyler was sick, and I meant to get it, but I just forgot. David turned to look at me. His face was calm, which somehow made it worse. "You forgot." "I'm sorry. I'll go get it right now." "It's 7 p.m., Linda." "They're closed." "I'll go first thing in the morning. I need it tonight. I have a meeting at 8 a.m. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He walked toward me slowly. "You had one job today, one simple task, and you couldn't even manage that. Tyler was sick. I had to take him to the doctor. Don't make excuses." His voice was deadly quiet. Then he slapped me, hard, across the face. The sound echoed in the bedroom. I stumbled backward, my hand flying to my burning cheek, tears of shock in my eyes. "Maybe next time you'll remember to do what you're told," he said calmly. Then he left the room like nothing had happened. I stood there in shock, my face throbbing, unable to process what had just occurred. This was David, my husband, the man I had married, the father of my children. He had just hit me, and then acted like it was nothing. That night, I lay in bed while David slept peacefully beside me, and I thought about leaving. But where would I go? My father was still recovering. I had no money, I had 2 small children, and a part of me, the part that had been worn down by years of criticism and control, whispered that maybe I had deserved it. Maybe I should have remembered the dry cleaning. Maybe I was a terrible wife. The physical abuse escalated over the next 2 years. David learned to hit me where the bruises wouldn't show. My ribs, my stomach, my upper arms where sleeves would cover the marks. He learned that threatening the children was even more effective than hitting me. "You're setting a terrible example for Sophia," he would say. "Do you want her to grow up to be a failure like you? Or worse? If you don't get your act together, I'll have to discipline Tyler the way I discipline you. Is that what you want?" I would do anything to protect my children from his rage. So I became smaller, quieter, more obedient. I stopped expressing opinions. I stopped thinking about leaving. I just tried to survive each day without triggering his anger. Amanda knew what was happening. I'm certain of it. She saw the bruises I couldn't quite hide. She heard the way David spoke to me. Once, I tried to confide in her, desperate for an ally. We were at a family dinner, and I pulled her aside. "Amanda, I need to talk to you about David," I started. She cut me off immediately. "If you're going to complain about my brother again, save it. David works incredibly hard to give you this life. You live in a beautiful home. You don't have to work. You have everything. And you're still not happy." "I'm not complaining. I'm trying to tell you that he what? Expects you to be a decent wife and mother? That's not abuse, Linda. That's marriage. Maybe if you put in more effort, he wouldn't be so frustrated." I never tried to talk to her again. In March of 1996, everything changed. I was cleaning David's office at home, dusting his desk, when I accidentally knocked over a stack of papers. As I bent down to pick them up, I saw it, a cell phone. But not David's regular cell phone. This was a different phone, hidden in the bottom drawer under some old business documents. My hands were shaking as I picked it up. Why would David have a second phone hidden in his desk? I turned it on. It had a passcode. I tried his birthday. Nothing. Our anniversary. Nothing. Then, on impulse, I tried Amanda's birthday. It worked. The phone opened, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Text messages. Dozens of them. To multiple women. Intimate, explicit messages. Photos. Calls to numbers I didn't recognize. And worse, messages about me. Messages to Amanda. "Linda is getting suspicious," one message to his sister read. "We need to speed up the timeline." "What about the kids?" Amanda had responded. "We'll deal with that after. The life insurance will more than cover their care." Life insurance. Timeline. Deal with that after. My mind was racing. What timeline? What were they planning? I kept scrolling, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode. There were messages about properties David was supposedly developing, but the numbers didn't make sense. There were discussions about offshore accounts. And then I found it. A text from 3 weeks earlier. "The policy is in place," David had written to Amanda. $2 million. Natural causes or accident. Suicide voids it, so make sure it doesn't look like that. $2 million. Life insurance on me. Make sure it doesn't look like suicide. They were planning to kill me. My husband and his sister were planning to murder me and make it look like an accident. I stood there in his office, holding that phone, and realized that everything, every single thing about my marriage had been a lie. David had never loved me. I was just a means to an end. But what end? Why? I kept digging through the phone, taking photos of everything with my own phone. I learned that David wasn't as successful as he pretended to be. His business was failing. He had debts. Major debts. He had been living on credit for years, maintaining the appearance of wealth while hemorrhaging money. The house was mortgaged to the hilt. He owed money to dangerous people. And I was worth more dead than alive. $2 million would solve a lot of his problems. I heard a car door slam outside. David was home early. Panic flooded through me. I quickly turned off the hidden phone, put it back exactly where I had found it, and rearranged the papers. I ran to the kitchen and started pulling out ingredients for dinner, trying to look normal, trying to keep my hands from shaking. David walked in, and I forced myself to smile. "You're home early. I'm just starting dinner." He looked at me strangely. "You okay? You look pale." "Just tired. Tyler kept me up last night." He nodded, losing interest immediately, and went to his office. I heard the drawer open. A pause. My heart stopped. Then it closed again. He came back out. "I'm going to take a shower before dinner," he said. As soon as I heard the water running, I grabbed my phone and went into the garage. I called the one person I thought might help me, my college roommate, Jennifer, who had moved to San Francisco years ago. We had lost touch over the years, largely because David had discouraged me from maintaining friendships, but I knew she would remember me. "Linda," she answered, surprised. "Oh my God, is that really you?" "Jen, I need help. I'm in trouble. I think my husband is planning to kill me." There was a pause. "What? Linda, what are you talking about?" "I don't have time to explain everything, but I found evidence, messages, plans. He has a life insurance policy on me, and he's planning to make it look like an accident. I have photos of everything, but I don't know what to do. I can't go to the police. His sister is a lawyer. They'll say I'm crazy. Send me the photos. Right now, send them to my email. And Linda, you need to get out of that house." "I can't. I have 2 kids, and if I leave, he'll know I found out. Then we need to make a plan. A smart plan. But Linda, you cannot let him know you know. Promise me." For the next 2 weeks, I lived in a state of constant terror, pretending everything was normal while Jennifer worked behind the scenes. She contacted a lawyer friend in Phoenix who specialized in family law. He connected me with a police detective named Maria Santos who worked in the domestic violence unit. Detective Santos had seen cases like mine before. "We need to catch him in the act," she told me, over a secret phone call I made from a grocery store parking lot. "We need proof of intent. Otherwise, it's just some text messages that could be explained away." "How do we do that?" I asked, my voice shaking. "We set a trap. You need to create an opportunity. Make yourself vulnerable in a way he can't resist, but you'll be wearing a wire and will be close by." The plan was set for March 15th, 1997. There was a real estate conference at a hotel in downtown Phoenix. David was supposed to attend, and I suggested going with him. "I never get to see what you do," I said sweetly. "I'd love to understand your work better. And my parents said they could watch the kids." David seemed surprised but pleased. "Really? You want to come?" "Of course. I want to be more supportive of your career." He agreed immediately. Too immediately. I saw something flicker in his eyes. Opportunity. The morning of the conference, I kissed my children goodbye. Sophia was 4 years old, Tyler almost 3. I hugged them so tight they squirmed in my arms. My mother looked at me strangely. "You okay, sweetheart?" she asked. "I'm fine, Mom. Just going to miss them." What I didn't tell her was that I was wearing a wire under my blouse. What I didn't tell her was that Detective Santos and her team were already positioned at the hotel. What I didn't tell her was that today, my husband was going to try to kill me. The conference sessions were in the morning. David seemed distracted, on edge. Amanda showed up around noon, which surprised me. She hugged David, barely acknowledged me, and whispered something in his ear. He nodded. They exchanged a look. My stomach nodded. After lunch, David suggested we go up to the room to rest before the afternoon sessions. We had booked a room on the 15th floor. My mouth went dry as we stepped into the elevator. In the room, David poured us both a drink from the minibar. "To new beginnings," he said, handing me a glass. I pretended to sip, but didn't actually drink. The wire under my blouse felt like it was burning against my skin. "You know, Linda," David said, walking toward the window, "I've been thinking about our future." "Oh?" "About what's best for the family. For the kids." He was standing by the window now, his back to me. My heart was pounding. The room was 15 floors up. Detective Santos had said David would likely try to stage it as a fall. Make it look like I had been leaning out, taking photos maybe, and slipped. "Come here," he said. "Look at this view." I walked toward him slowly, every muscle in my body screaming at me to run. But I couldn't. Not yet. We needed him to show his hand. As I approached the window, David's phone buzzed. He checked it. A text from Amanda. I couldn't see what it said, but David's jaw tightened. He looked at me, and I saw it, the decision in his eyes. "You know," he said softly, "I've tried to be patient with you, Linda. I really have. But you're just not cut out for this life." "What do you mean?" "You're weak. You're pathetic. And honestly, you're worth more to me dead than alive." The words hung in the air between us. He had just admitted it. Out loud. On recording. "David, what are you saying?" He grabbed my arm, the same way he had grabbed me dozens of times before. But this time, he was pulling me toward the open window. "I'm saying I'm tired of pretending. The insurance money will solve all my problems. And you'll finally be useful for something." I tried to pull away, but his grip was iron. He was strong, and I was smaller. He forced me toward the window, and I realized he was actually going to do it. He was going to throw me out. "David, no. Please. Shut up. Stop making this harder than it needs to be." I was at the window now, the Phoenix skyline stretching out before me, 15 floors of empty air below. David had one arm around my waist, lifting me. I screamed as loud as I could, and then the door exploded open. Detective Maria Santos burst into the room with 3 uniformed officers behind her. "Phoenix PD, let her go! Hands up!" David froze, his arms still around me. For a moment, I thought he might do it anyway, might throw us both out. But then he released me, and I fell backward onto the floor. Officers rushed forward, pulling David away, pushing him to the ground, handcuffing him. He didn't resist. He just stared at me with pure hatred in his eyes. "You did this," he said. "You sneaky little bitch." Detective Santos helped me up. "You okay? Linda, are you hurt?" I was shaking uncontrollably, but I managed to shake my head. "I'm okay. I'm okay." They arrested Amanda an hour later when she came to the hotel, presumably to help stage the aftermath. She had keys to the room. She had a story prepared about how I had been depressed lately, how I had talked about ending it all. They found notes on her phone, a whole script they had planned. The wire had recorded everything, every word David said, every threat. Every admission, combined with the messages from the hidden phone, the life insurance policy, the financial records showing his debts, it was an airtight case. The trial lasted 3 weeks. David's lawyer tried to claim that he had been joking, that the whole thing was a misunderstanding. But you couldn't listen to that recording and think it was a joke. You couldn't hear him admit I was worth more dead than alive and think he was kidding. Amanda tried to claim she had just been texting her brother, that she didn't know what he was planning. But her messages betrayed her. Make sure it doesn't look like suicide. She had been complicit from the beginning. They were both convicted. David got 25 years to life for attempted murder. Amanda got 15 years as an accomplice. They tried to appeal. They failed. They blamed me. They called me a liar, a manipulator, claimed I had trapped them. But the evidence was overwhelming. I got a divorce while David was awaiting trial. I got full custody of Sophia and Tyler. I got the house, which I immediately sold to pay off David's debts. I moved back in with my parents temporarily while I figured out my next steps. My father, still recovering but stronger now, hugged me tightly when I told him everything. "I'm so sorry," he said, tears in his eyes. "I should have seen it. I should have protected you." "It's not your fault, Dad." He fooled everyone. The trauma didn't end when David went to prison. I had nightmares for years. I jumped at sudden sounds. I had panic attacks in hotel rooms. But I got therapy, good therapy, and I slowly started to rebuild. I went back to work in marketing, starting entry-level again at 34 years old, but I didn't care. I was free. I was alive. I worked my way up over the years, eventually becoming marketing director for a small hotel chain, ironically enough. I made my own money. I answered to no one. I made my own decisions. Sophia is 31 now. She's a social worker who specializes in helping women escape domestic violence. She says her childhood taught her that abuse can happen to anyone, and that survivors deserve compassion, not judgment. She's married to a kind, gentle man who treats her like gold. I cry every time I see them together, grateful that she found what real love looks like. Tyler is 29. He's a teacher, working with at-risk youth. He's patient, empathetic, and has never once raised his voice in anger. He tells his students that violence is never the answer, that real strength is in choosing kindness. He's engaged to a wonderful woman who sees his gentle heart. My parents are both gone now, passed peacefully in their 80 seconds. But they got to see me rebuild. They got to see their grandchildren thrive. They got to know I was safe. David was released on parole last year after serving 22 years. He's 77 years old now, living in a small apartment on the east side of Phoenix, working part-time at a hardware store. His sister Amanda got out 3 years ago. She lost her law license, lost everything. She lives alone, bitter and broken. They don't speak to each other anymore. Even shared evil can't survive that kind of betrayal and failure. I'm 63 years old now. I live in a cozy house in Tempe with a garden full of desert flowers. I have 3 grandchildren who think I'm the bravest person they know. I have friends who love me. I have a life that's truly mine. If you're watching this and you recognize yourself in my story, I want you to hear me clearly. If you're with someone who controls you, isolates you, makes you feel worthless, or threatens your safety, you are in danger. It doesn't matter if they haven't hit you yet. Abuse is abuse. Control is control. And it only gets worse. I know you're scared. I know you think you can't leave. I know you're worried about the kids, about money, about where you'll go. I know you think no one will believe you. I've been exactly where you are. But here's what I learned. Staying is more dangerous than leaving, and there are people who will help you. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. The number is on your screen right now. They will listen. They will believe you. They will help you make a safety plan. You can also text START to 88788. If you can't call, tell a doctor, tell a nurse, tell a teacher, tell someone at your church or mosque or synagogue, tell a coworker, tell anyone who might help. Because you deserve to be helped. You deserve to be safe. Document everything. Take photos of injuries, save threatening messages, keep a journal hidden somewhere safe, email evidence to a trusted friend, create a paper trail. When you're ready to leave, and you will be ready, That evidence will save your life the way it saved mine. You are not stupid for staying. You are not weak. You are surviving an impossible situation. And when you're ready, when you can, you will escape. And on the other side of that escape is a freedom you can't even imagine right now. My name is Linda Morrison. I was a victim for 7 years. I've been a survivor for 29 more. Every single day of freedom was worth every single moment of fear it took to get here. Your story doesn't end with him. It ends with you, standing in the sunlight, breathing free air, living the life you deserve. If you're new to Twisted MNT Stories, please subscribe. We share these stories because every survivor deserves to be heard. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, please share this video. You might save a life. Thank you for listening. Remember, you are stronger than you know, and you are not alone. Take that first step. Reach out. I did, and it saved everything.